what's going on when it comes to ZBCN? A lot of people are asking me that, and even though nothing I say is financial advice, I think, to me at least, primarily there's two things that's going on. First of all, the price, of course, is having a pullback. It's not doing the best as of right now, and 10 cents is around a 29x from here. That's the first thing I noticed, right? However, the second thing I noticed is that the fundamentals seem to have stayed the same. So if, let's say, there is not just this specialized event, like not where only just ZBCN is going down, let's say a bunch of altcoins are also not doing good, and then ZBCN is also kind of doing that, but then at the same time, the fundamentals are still pretty okay, in my perspective, that right there is a recipe for me to not hypothetically just give up on the project. Now, I am not telling anyone to do anything. This is just personally what I am doing, right? But to me, I just don't want to give up because even if I take a look at Zebec's partners and ecosystem, at least in that section, there's something called Algorand there. Why do I like that? It's because Algorand is, if we just take a look at it as a layer 1 blockchain, I think it's very impressive because, first of all, Algorand has an aspect of ISO 20022, which, when we take a look at Zebec, it is working towards that. And then at the same time, Algorand is allegedly the technology of choice for over 2,000 global organizations. So we take that into consideration, something like Algorand and what they've done so far with Zebec, and just because ZBCN's having a pullback, I want to give up like that? Personally, I just don't want to give up. This is my perspective. Now, I know some friends out there that, they believe in ZBCN, but they just don't want a dollar cost average into it anymore. And that's totally their choice. Like, personally, for me, I also have those feelings too when it comes to something like Cadena. Like, for instance, I'm still holding Cadena, but do I still want a dollar cost average into it? Absolutely not. So there's that type of vibe sometimes. And again, that's just the way I take a look at Cadena, and that's the way I take a look at ZBCN, where in the case of Cadena, I don't want a dollar cost average anymore, but when it comes to ZBCN, I'm still doing it. However, I am not telling anyone to do anything, and of course, I'm not just randomly doing it like that, right? What I'm doing is just literally once a month, incrementally. That's it. I'm not trying to figure out the perfect moment. I'm just trying to prepare for the moment, if that makes sense, because eventually there's going to be probably a point where hypothetically people just don't want to sell. Now, what will that point be? I have no idea, because of course it's going to be dependent on factors that are beyond my control. But then, at the same time, hypothetically, there might be a moment where people just don't want to exit anymore. So, yeah, I just don't want to give up. That's the way to take a look at it. Now, let me just harp back to that Algorand aspect as well, because if I take a look at Algorand again, people like to say that, okay, Algorand, what they've done with Zebec, who really cares about that and all this type of stuff? Well, we have to consider this. Again, Algorand is way more popular than, let's say, something like Zebec as a project, right? Algorand's already kind of done its thing. Zebec, it's still kind of up and coming. So then, in my perspective, seeing what Zebec has done so far, I'm still very impressed. Again, ZBCN's having a pullback right now, and a bunch of other projects within its space is also having a pullback. Let's take a look at, for instance, right, XDC, right? I would say another competitor when it comes to Zebec. We take a look at also, in the case of XPR, Swiftcoin, we take a look at also XCN, or should I say Onyx, right? They're all having a pullback. It's not just only ZBCN. And the thing is, ZBCN is actually holding up a lot better, I think, in my perspective, than something like XCN, for instance, which for quite a while was often considered to be more popular than something like Zebec, but now it's kind of shifted, right? Now it's kind of become how ZBCN is a little bit more popular than something like XCN. So, to me at least, when I just take a look at how far Zebec has come, when I take a look at kind of the Solana aspect as well when it comes to Zebec, I just don't want to give up. This is my point of view. Like, even Solana is also having a pullback. So, when it comes to this, it's just the altcoin space doing its thing. That's the way to take a look at it. But personally, for me, I'm just still dollar cost averaging. I'm still holding and I'm still waiting because if, let's say, I'm the captain of a sports team, would it make sense that every single time, like, the other team scored, I just give up and be like, oh yeah, no, I'm done? Well, it just doesn't really set, I think, sometimes a good message to the team, right? Let's say, for instance, let's say I'm the captain of a football team, and every single time the other team scores a touchdown, I just say like, oh yeah, I don't want to be captain anymore. However, when the team scores again, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be captain again. It just doesn't make sense. So personally for me, for the projects that I have conviction in, I don't want to give up. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but it's just my perspective. Because when I take a look at Zebec, what I often find very surprising about it is that it's kind of like this project, right, which is literally focused on a market which doesn't even have that many popular options to begin with, like, in the payments and global trade and finance space. And then at the same time, it has a Solana aspect. Solana, not too long ago, when altcoins were doing a lot better, that was a pretty big narrative. And we take a look at payments, global trade and finance. For quite a while, there was only two major players within this space, right? And of course, Stellar is one of the two. So then, for quite a while, we're taking a look at something, or should I say a market, that pretty much only has two major players, but then now we're beginning to see the emergence of something like XDC, XCN, ZBCN, Swiftcoin, XPR to a certain extent, even though all of them still have a market cap that is below 2 billion. But I'm saying still, for quite a while, there wasn't really that many popular options. Now that there's hypothetically a little bit more options, now that the space is being a little bit more recognized, and despite all those factors right there, just because there is a slight pullback, which a bunch of altcoins are also experiencing, I want to give up just like that? I just don't want to do that, actually. Now, again, I'm not telling you to do anything, but when I'm asked what's going on, I think, again, first of all, the price is hypothetically not doing the best, and then also, second of all, the fundamentals, I feel like, kind of stayed the same when it comes to Zebec, so, to me, I am just waiting, staying patient, and I literally just don't want to give up. It's like, for instance, when I was working a part-time job back in college at a buffet, was every single day my best day? No. Did I have fun every single time I worked there? No, right? I mean, there was times I had fun, but it wasn't 100%. I would say it's maybe like 90 something percent. So it's going to be like that. It's not only just going to be smooth sailing all the time. Like there's sometimes going to be this roller coaster movement where it's ups and where it's downs. But if I didn't want to experience this at all, if I didn't like it so much, I just literally would not hold any project within this space, and that's it. All the kind of, concerns that I would have would just be gone, basically, right? Because if I just don't want to experience that type of feeling, I wouldn't be in this space. But then I voluntarily did that, which a lot of my friends actually ask me why. Well, it's because I feel like I haven't seen an altcoin season. That's the way to take a look at it, at least during this cycle. It's like, for instance, let's say I want to run a marathon. I know that as a consequence of that, I'm probably going to be tired. You know what I mean? But then if I want to run a marathon, I voluntarily did that. So when it comes to, in the case of ZBCN, no one told me to hold this. No one is, demanding that I hold this. No, right? Like I'm literally doing this on my own, but I voluntarily chose that. But you know what? It is what it is. That's just my perspective. But even if I take a look at, just kind of what ZBCN's doing and all this type of stuff, we've seen pullbacks before when it comes to ZBCN, and sure, when I take a look at it, it recovered hypothetically pretty quickly, and this time we haven't really seen that type of movement, right? But who knows? Things could be different a month later, 2 months later, which is why I haven't given up. I just feel like I haven't seen what the cycle could do. It's like, for instance, I'm reading a book, but then I haven't finished reading it. How can I really evaluate it? That's the way to take a look at it, which is why I just am still staying patient. But I just wanted to make this video real quick and just talk about what my experience is right now when it comes to ZBC and how I'm feeling and how I'm dealing with basically what's going on as of right now. Because sure, it's not such a good feeling seeing hypothetically things go down, but then at the same time, I voluntarily kind of wanted to do this, right? So it is what it is. But that is why during times like this, I focus on the projects that I actually like fundamentally. I focus on the projects that actually I think have a pretty good use case. And that's about it. The market's going to do its thing. All I can do is literally just stay patient, hold, and that's about it. And I want to say thank you for watching. I hope y'all have a nice day. It's Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.